So my name is Adrian Kwiatkowski, and I own an advocacy and public affairs firm here in San Diego. My business partner and I have been around for over 25 years. I've worked on a variety of uh, public policy campaigns, high-profile projects that were very controversial. I came to the table on this topic because uh, I'm a dog lover, like a lot of you, or animal lover in general. I have a 15-year-old that I got from the shelter. And then in the last 2.5 years, I've adopted two staffies from Beth and her organization. So now I'm up to three furry friends in my household. Uh, so, uh, and uh, as we were adopting our most recent one last fall, we adopted one little guy that had some medical issues with that needed some additional TLC, and so I spent a lot of time with Beth, kind of dealing with that. And during the course of those conversations, she kind of enlightened me that there's a real problem. We need to do something about this. I told her, well, my background is in advocacy, lobbying, public affairs. Maybe I can help. And so that kind of, we went down that road. And Beth introduced me to Nicole, and then Nicole introduced me to Darrell, and then Wendy came on board, and then Melina came on board. And so we've all been meeting over the past couple months, kind of coalescing around, what is the policy objective we're trying to accomplish? What is the real solution to this problem? And the real solution to the overpopulation crisis is a real robust and aggressive spay and neuter program to basically kind of bring the population, under some management. And so that's what we're here to talk about tonight. I've got a very brief presentation to share with you that has some of the facts we've kind of researched in the last few months. As some of there are a lot of organizations out there that are rescue organizations. You've got the Humane Society, the formal organizations, and this whole process is going to be collaborative, positive. We're not here to point fingers at any one group or organization. We're focused on a solution. And so the goal is to recruit as many allies, whether they are individuals, organizations that support that solution. Our focus area right now is initially the city of San Diego because it's the largest kind of geographic area. And if we get something accomplished at the city, then we can, expand that to other jurisdictions that orbit the city of San Diego. So that's kind of where we are from a policy perspective. So I do want to share with our new participants that we are recording this, but we are not. This is in a recording for internal purposes. We're not sharing this with anyone else. The goal here, this is an honest space. We want you to be honest about your feelings, about what think the solution needs to be. Like I said earlier, we're not here to point fingers at anyone. We're just here to talk about how do we move forward with a real solution. So. That being said, I am going to mute everyone as I was requested to do earlier, and then we'll get into the brief presentation. Once the presentation is over, then we can go into discussion if that's okay. So here we go. Okay, so who are we? We are San Diegans for Spay and Neuter Impact Plan, the SNIP campaign. It is a purpose-created 501c3 nonprofit with a laser-focused campaign goal of advocating for an affordable spay and neutering program in the city of San Diego to balance the animal population, prevent animal euthanasia, illness and injury, reduce shelter and rescue overpopulation, and to save taxpayer dollars. San Diegans for SNP campaign mission is an effective spay neuter impact plan. So what's the problem? A lot of you know, local shelters and local rescues are overwhelmed with the overpopulation crisis of our furry friends. The system is breaking and needs population stabilization. Resources are being stretched with dire consequences. What is the start of a solution? The city of San Diego, through their contract with San Diego Humane Society, has authorized a 4-year spay and neuter voucher program for $30,000 per year, totaling $120,000. There are over 1.4 million city residents, 9 city council districts. 65% of city residents have at least one pet, equaling 910,000 pets. As a result, the program covers 240 spay and neuter vouchers per year. That's 20 vouchers per month, $125 average voucher, which comes out to 2.2 vouchers per council district per month. For a city of this size, that is inadequate. So we want to strengthen the solution. We want to collaborate with the City of San Diego and the San Diego Humane Society to strengthen the spay and neuter voucher program by expanding the voucher program for the life of the city and San Diego Humane Society contract, increasing the number of vouchers from 20 per month to 450 per month, which would come out to 5,400 vouchers annually or 50 vouchers per council district per month. We also want to increase the average voucher to $200, increasing the spay and neuter voucher program by $1 million annually, roughly. What this will do, it'll create tremendous cost savings based on the most recent Humane Society report of expenses. They spend about 66% of their annual budget to care for animals. So in the 2024 fiscal year, that was over $11.6 million to care for 20,000 animals in the city. It comes out to $584 per animal annually. If we just had a one-for-one cost savings, so if we are doing 5,400 spay and neuters per year, and that prevented 5,400 animals, we could save roughly over $2 million just with that goal. I'm sure some of you have seen the pyramid here before, where one unspayed female and her unneutered male can produce tremendous amount of offspring amongst various, animal populations. And so we need to really aggressively go after that. So kind of how to help. This is the first meeting that we're talking to potential allies and supporters and friends. You can join our effort. You can join our campaign advisory council and our committees. You can help design policy solutions, help meet with decision makers, participate in public and media events, make a difference. We would like, if you're inclined to have your organizational name and logo listed on our website that we're building, that'd be great. We'd like you to help leverage your network to help, spread the word. And basically, we need help to solve the overpopulation crisis. So that was the presentation. Pretty succinct. I'll open it up now to questions, comments, and we can go back to, certain slides in the presentation, and that presentation is available to be distributed upon request. So if anyone has a question, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Hey there, this is Alondra with Animal Rescuers Without Borders. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I'm not great at Zoom, but I had a question about the vouchers. So we're going to be increasing it to $200. Is that also Humane Society and DAS, or are we speaking just Humane?
Right now, just humane because of the city.
Okay, that's right. That's right. That's the whole city situation. Got it. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
We're hoping that those vouchers can be used anywhere, which I know Betsy from Pet Assistance Foundation here. I know that's a problem with, like, Pet Assistance Foundation uses vouchers at different practices. And right now, because of the city restrictions, the San Diego Humane Society vouchers can only be used at San Diego Humane Society because of the restrictions that the city put on them. So we'd like to make it so that those vouchers can be used elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's needed.
Hence the raising the cost without limitation. So that way the individuals could use that, like they used to with DAS, so they use kind of like as cash. So the pet owner would then pay the difference. if it was a little more, depending on where they went. So it could be free at San Diego Humane Society or SNAP or Feral Cat Coalition, but they may pay a difference at a private vet hospital if they couldn't get into some of the other lower cost programs.
So is this a fundraising program then right now? I mean, where is that $1 million coming from?
That's a great question.
Thanks, Betsy.
Yeah, especially after what just happened last week.
I think if there's a way, it feels to me, and that's where I think when Adrian put the numbers together, there's a potential $3 million gross savings. If we can ask them to invest $1 million, there is a gross savings of $2 million. The goal is to reallocate the funds that are already being used. But what we're trying to say is rather than continuing to pay maybe $584 per animal to house them, knowing that those numbers are just going to continue to go up, and at some point, there's just not enough room for them. We need to reallocate some of the funds to start on a solution, because every year we have the potential to save at least $2 million. And, compound interest, it goes up. Now, and all of us in this room know that when we say it's a one-to-one savings, when have you ever had an animal have one pet in their litter consistently? That doesn't happen. So that's the challenge, is how do we get to go in front of the city knowing that we're at a budget deficit and say, look, we're asking for more money, but in the even short term, it's going to save.
Well, and it's also looking at their contract that they have with the Humane Society, which I've done. The Humane Society has the flexibility within the contract to make modifications. The city could also make modifications as a contract holder. And so we're going to start that conversation with both the city and the Humane Society, because as Nicole just stated, the goal here is to reduce the population and bring it under control. And by doing that, you are reducing expenses. So that is where the money comes from. So currently, like last year, for example, the city spent over $17.7 million on the Humane Society contract. So if we can reduce or help kind of start a downward trend for the number of animals they're having to care for in the city, that will achieve those cost savings that then go into such a program.
Question. So we're asking San Diego Humane to help with this, right?
We're
okay.
going to, yes, we're going to be, this is a diplomatic mission. We will be reaching out to the Humane Society, San Diego Humane Society, and also our elected officials in the city, and try to kind of bring both groups on board with this policy objective. And I guess the good news is that this program already exists in the current contract, so it's not like we're trying to promote something brand new. It is just unfortunately woefully underfunded. And the Humane Society contract with the City of San Diego is for 10 years. The program is only mandated for the first 4 years of that contract, and then it goes away. So the program needs to continue for the life of the contract, and it needs to be expanded in order to reduce, suffering and also reduce expenses, thus saving tax dollars. And our elected officials understand how that kind of logic works. So I'm optimistic that we can, make progress on that.
I was just curious. I know that San Diego Humane got a grant from Cal for All Animals, and I don't know how that's being used. I don't know if that could be applied to this program or if they have other purposes for that. Does everyone know what I'm talking about?
What was the grant again, Betsy?
Hold on. I think it's bad timing. I think there's a coyote.
Oh, I know Betsy's got a big dog and a little dog, so coyote's not good.
Now, while she's dealing with that emergency, I'll open up to, I don't know if there are any other questions or comments or, yep.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, so
Sure.
with from experience working with SNAP, with the past vouchers, people were kind of taking advantage of them. So we had families who would come to the bus, and they'd have a litter of 8 kittens, and then they decide not to fix a kitten because somebody wanted their particular kitten to have a litter of babies, type of thing. So is it going to be more of a regulated where it kind of turned into almost a monopoly with some people where they were able to get vouchers for 15 other pets, when there were people who were also needing the services? So is it going to be something that's going to be more regulated where we're monitoring who is receiving the vouchers and making sure that they are responsible pet owners, if that makes sense?
So to answer your question, yes,
Mhm.
we would promote that. That hasn't been designed yet, but absolutely, you don't want to have one individual monopolizing a number of vouchers and thus, eliminating opportunities for other pet owners. So, and that's something we would promote to the mayor and city council that this is a highly regulated, fair program. And the goal is to achieve the number that we're trying to achieve and impact as many families as possible and as many pets as possible.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
And that's a great question, and that's why we're having this meeting today because this is a evolving process. This is a living proposal that will, get more refined as time goes on. And so we're looking to kind of refine the parameters of the proposal in the next, month or so before we begin our diplomatic efforts with the city and with the Humane Society. So that's a great suggestion. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I have a slightly different consideration, and I am not here at all as a representative of Humane Society. I am a staff vet there, so I'm not at all in any way privy to the workings of the administrative levers there. But I think my concern just as a veterinarian is capacity. Access to care is a huge problem everywhere. So I think that if we are going to try, which I think is laudable and I would love to see that, I certainly can spay and neuter animals for like 9 hours a day. But I think we do potentially need to consider just veterinary training and engaging more veterinarians who are able to do spay neuter for $200 rather than, $1,000, which is what you're going to get charged at a private veterinary hospital. So expanding the capacity of organizations like SNAP, I think is also going to be fairly essential in just trying to get more vets who are able to do, quick and efficient, high volume, high quality surgeries. I think we're going to need that if we're going to expand capacity.
Is there any incentive for a veterinarian to do that because it's such a low dollar income for them, other than to offer their high value $500 surgery? Is there any incentive to?
Yes. I go and talk to vets for my rescue and I negotiate a fair price and then they get referrals. So if they're doing the spay neuter prices at this lower rate, then more people will experience how that vet handles them and they may continue to go to that vet, especially if it's in their area. So the plan would be to talk with various vets around the county and get them on board, which I can help do, to be part of this. And then they get exposure from a lot of people in this county.
Just to intervene on that, I think that a lot of vets are, yes, they definitely have a monetary consideration. They have loans to pay, but they're also bleeding hearts. They're also going to do stuff. If they're given the opportunity to do something good, they're going to jump on it. And also they're giant nerds. So if they're given the opportunity to get more training to do something that they don't know how to do for free, potentially, a lot of vets are going to be like, yeah, sure, I'll learn how to do new stuff. That sounds great. Just because we are giant nerds and we love this.
I agree. We just,
Wendy? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to piggyback onto what Dr. Kaplan was saying is the high volume spay neuter techniques take so much less time. Like they could spay a cat. I only have familiarity with cats in less than 5 minutes, and a neuter is like 120 seconds. Like it's super fast. So another incentive for vets to learn these techniques is volume. If a private vet scheduled, every Friday, I'm going to do high volume spay, neuter, low cost surgeries, and I'm going to do 35 cats in one day, they're getting vouchers for that. They're still going to have income because of the volume. So I think that's a really good selling point also. The surgeries take less time, so they could do more.
Yep. And to add to what Wendy said, with the high volume techniques, it's less time that a pet is under anesthesia, which means that it's safer. And the high volume techniques, they have smaller incisions, which leads to better recovery, where you're not having complications and huge incisions, where a pet can open that incision up. And so I think all the way around, they're going to see less rechecks, less infections. All the pets with the high volume get sent home with cones, e-collars, and specific instructions on how to take care of that pet. And again, the anesthesia time is so much less. So it's safer for the pets. And that also brings client comfort. And it brings surgeon comfort because they know that that pet is in surgery, gets spayed, neutered, and then they're out, and with minimal risk. So I definitely have to contribute to what Wendy said.
I have a question.
Yes.
How long does it take to learn those techniques? Is that something we could look into sponsoring? Could it be taught in a clinic over a weekend or something like that? The high volume spay neuter techniques?
I wanted to jump in really quick. California, is it Senate Bill 1233 requests, they're asking that it requires the regions of the University of California, and there's another school, offer high quality, high volume spay and neuter. So there's something out there right now in the state of California. It's SB 1233.
Right. I'm not sure. The vet schools do teach these techniques. The students do have to actually, involve themselves in learning them. And I think a lot of them are interested. It is something that can be taught in a fairly short amount of time. And actually, you would probably train the support team as well, like the RVTs that are going to be running anesthesia and anesthetizing these pets, because it is just a team effort and everybody just kind of has their own piece. So it's a very collaborative thing that all works together. As far as getting the proficiency for a veterinarian, that does take quite a bit of time. Surgery is just like any other mechanical skill. It's muscle memory. So the more you do, the better you are. So after you do 3 surgeries, you're not going to be as fast as after you do 20 or 30 surgeries. So it is something, a skill that takes time to develop. But once you learn the techniques, it's just kind of a matter of doing everything the same way every time, and then your hands just do it automatically.
Okay, because I think Spay Mexico does, actually down in Mexico, but does clinics to train vets on those techniques. So could ask.
Sorry. I was going to jump in and kind of piggyback on that. I was going to say we do work with an organization in Baja that does high volume spay and neuter, and their lead surgeon we're trying to work also in Mexico to kind of do something similar, obviously without the city's support, but more so recruit vets and training them. So I don't know if that's something you guys would be open to, if we found vets to be able to do the training down in Baja, because down there their training in essence are the free clinics that they do with the shelter system down there. It's just an option if that's something that you guys are open to exploring.
Well, I think the main point that everyone agrees with if we're successful, we're going to have to expand the infrastructure. And there are lots of great ideas on how to accomplish that objective. And we're not, we need to be mindful of that, but we need to focus on, getting the program kind of get support for the program for the concept first. But we do need to have that infrastructure kind of some ideas kind of created around that. How do we expand it if we are successful? So I appreciate this discussion. And someone else had a comment or
Yeah. Animal Balance, they can come in, they like to train to create sustainable clinics in any location. They'll like borrow a clinic for 3 days and perform a minimum of like 200 surgeries. And they do a training. There's Emma and Megan who are running the clinics right now. They can email you more information, but I think that should be put out there. Like there's so many groups that like it's all about sustainability and like creating just something that works to make it as simple as possible. And there are groups out there that want to come in and train. So yeah, I'm just planting the seed for that. And then separately, I can have them email you all the details and take a look at. If that sounds good.
yeah, great.
Because it's successful. They are doing it everywhere.
Where's Animal Balance? Like, where are their headquarters? Are they everywhere?
Oregon, but like I've gone all around the world with them doing spay neuter, and now they're in the LA shelter system, and they're starting a program there. But my primary, like when I worked with them, it was on islands doing spay neuter and creating sustainable clinics.
Thank you.
But now they're stateside. They're able to do that in the US. And so, yeah, they're based out of Oregon. Check them out, Animal Balance. And this is the new goal, is to do high volume spay neuter. Make it sustainable in all the locations in which they frolic, so to speak.
So I like whoever brought up, I can't remember, like what is it in for the private vets? What do they get out of that? So it looks like we have a great list of ideas for that. They're going to increase their clients. They're going to learn new techniques. They're going to be part of a coalition. And I think that's something that we had talked about in the past of creating like a membership to be part of this Spay Neuter Coalition where they're recognized through the media publicly. They have something to hang on their wall. So they become, the hero of animals more so than they already are. And being part of the coalition that accepts these vouchers. And we sort of talked about how they may not have to charge just the $200. So someone else had mentioned, well, what if they can't do it for that amount of money? They're just accepting them for that cash. So there is a difference. So they're not losing money if that was what someone's fear was. But the clients who have the vouchers do get a choice of where to go. So they're going to go to the vets that are members of the coalition, that have their little gold sign up, and they're going to accept the vouchers. And that will increase space for the other organizations that are doing it very low cost. It'll increase space for Feral Cat and SNAP and Chula Vista. Because those mid-income pet owners with the vouchers can now go to one of the private vets that may cost a little more, but it's not out of pocket so much for that pet owner. So there's a lot of incentives for the private vets, a lot of incentives for the pet owners, and then a lot of incentives, which is most important, for the city and San Diego Humane Society, because they will be saving a lot of money in the long run.
Can those savings be quantified when you make your presentation so they say, wow, look at that?
So in the other direction, which was the big wow for me, besides, the pyramid and seeing all the phone calls we get, the other thing that was really my wow factor is when Adrian figured out the number of vouchers that are currently helping the constituents of the city of San Diego when he broke it down per district. it was 2 animals per district per month. So whatever district you live in, the city of San Diego is helping 2 pets per month in that entire district. That's it. So, hopefully it's a male and a female at least. But 2 animals per district per month is just nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It's a joke. So that was my wow factor, like, oh my God. So in the other direction, like you're recommending, Lynn, is absolutely what Adrian is working on by pulling out the numbers from what the city's doing, and this is sort of the kickoff. So that is definitely the direction that we're going to go as a group.
Yeah. And are there vets that you have a list of already that you know of would participate? When we began the foundation 5 years ago as a 501c3, we called 10, 30 vets to find out where we had options for the low-cost spay neuter. And we found quite a few. And I'd like to hand that list to you if you want to look at it and see where they are. Because I think geography will make a difference in where people go for vouchers and whether they'll continue to use that vet for the referrals.
So we started working on that, and then we sort of paused it because we really didn't have anywhere to go with it.
Right.
So I know Helen from Pet Assistance Foundation and Joy from SNAP have been creating that list. And now, Lynn, you have a list, which is great. Animal Welfare Foundation, they have a list.
Okay.
So once, we will put that list together and invite them all to be part of this coalition.
Right.
And then other private vets will come on board. And I do know, one of the difficult things is, the VCAs are purchasing lots of the private vets. So those vets, those offices may not have the option. But I also know that like Banfield, their board of directors, they're interested in a presentation. So if one of those bigger companies, allow a presentation and if they get on board, then it'll be smooth sailing after that. So that list, keep that list, and anyone else in rescue who has a good connection with a veterinarian, in time we'll probably want to put those lists together and then reach out to them. But we have to start with the city first, and that's where we are today.
Hey, Lynn, quick question for you. That list that you're talking about, is that just mainly for cats or also surgeries for dogs?
So it could be for dogs. We only had one other person use it for a dog, but otherwise I would say probably mostly cats, because that's what we tried to get. People we knew would adopt in Eastlake. We had Eastlake vet. People adopt in North Park. We have a North Park vet. So we do a lot of those things. We don't always ask if they have dogs. So they did do a couple of dogs, but not necessarily mass.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely much harder to find, I think all rescue groups, we all know it's pretty hard for the dogs mostly, but all right. Yeah, it'll be great to see lists from anybody who's got some sort of list of research that you guys have already done. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Wendy, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to what Lynn said, kind of the what's in it for me for the city and the Humane Society. Why would they want to do this? The huge what's in it for me is that they are facing budget cuts. And for putting in $1 million instead of the $3 million, they could have a huge impact for the echo that's going to come down the road for not having so many animals to take care of. The numbers that Adrian ran was a perfect example of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, because what the Humane Society is doing is taking all the output, the animals that exist, and trying to manage them and adopt. And as we all know, we can't adopt our way out of this. So we need to go to the beginning of that input chain and really break that cycle. So for only a third of the amount of money, you can have this great impact down the road. And that's why there's a saying in, I think it's PR marketing, Adrian, correct me if I'm wrong, but never let a good crisis go to waste. This is in the news right now that they're asking the Humane Society to cut their budget. Okay, we have the way. Here's the answer. if you have to cut the budget, here's how you have an even better impact. Let us help you, kind of a thing.
Yes. Yeah. So to add to that, and what Adrian, his presentation stated, the only roadblock I feel like we face with I shouldn't say the only roadblock, one of the huge roadblocks we face with the general practice is now veterinarians are refusing to fix young pets. So can we get a veterinarian on board? So high volume, high quality spay neuter. We're running into roadblocks like at SNAP. We just faced a situation where a female dog had her first litter and then she became aggressive. Well, we're facing these issues where veterinarians won't even fix dogs till about 2 years old. 18 months, 2 years old. I have interviewed so many registered vet technicians who don't even know how to intubate a cat if they're not 8 months and older, because veterinarians are refusing to fix them at 8 weeks.
There's a lot of studies out there about that, which is why the dog thing is happening. People are saying, yes, don't do it. This is the study. And that's why people are changing their minds on dogs specifically.
Yes. So that's where I also worry. And that's also where I worry about pet overpopulation, because by the time these dogs are 2 years old, yep, most of them, something happened where they got pregnant, they had puppies, they got aggressive males. Yep. And that's where I also think we'll face a roadblock for high volume, high quality spay neuter. We believe we need to fix them before they're of a breeding age to prevent an unwanted or a oops litter. But now the trends are flowing up to where people aren't fixing their pets till later stages, and then a lot of unwanted litters are happening. So that's something also to think about, where we have to get veterinarians on board. Again, now we have to reverse it. So I personally, I worked in the veterinary field 23 years ago. We used to fix pets before they were able to breed. And that was a trend. That was a thing. Their last set of vaccines, you got fixed, period. And now it's different. So that might be a roadblock with trying to convince these veterinarians, because at $200, when you're saying, oh, here's a 100-pound dog now, as opposed to fixing that puppy, yeah, it was only 20 pounds. Same thing with cats. So that might be an issue too. I just have to add that. I feel like we have to kind of somehow educate to draw it back to understand, like, the only way we can help prevent pet overpopulation is not allowing these animals to get to a breeding age to breed, if that makes sense. Or aggression, because once they're aggressive, that's it. Your dog's aggressive, that's it. You can't change that. Yeah. But you could have changed that if you fixed that puppy when they were 12 weeks old.
And that's a complicated societal issue. We walk down the street with our TNR traps and we're told by people, this is not God's way. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So we have.
Yeah.
As far as people's perceptions, I think that's going to be difficult to change. We're also having people not vaccinate their animals or their children. Right. That's a huge issue that is, I think, outside of our scope or capacity for handling. But as far as veterinarians, that's just an educational issue. Yes, those studies exist, but those studies were also done on a population of animals who were presented to a tertiary referral service at the University of California in Davis. So that is a limited population. How many dogs who were intact died of cancer in the backyard that never presented to that university? That's just an issue, and high quality, high volume training kind of takes care of that misconception in most veterinarians. It is completely safe, and there's been a numerous amount of studies that have shown that it's completely safe to spay young animals before their first heat, especially, very interestingly, before their first heat. As far as societal issues and people's perceptions about what God said, that's beyond me.
Yeah. On everybody.
Well, like I say to clients sometimes, have you met people?
Elena, I'm curious,
Yeah.
because you're a veterinarian and you're around other vets, presumably, have you had that discussion? What's your take on people that you know?
I am almost exclusively around shelter vets. We vaccinate everything that comes through the door, and we spay neuter everything that is like even humanly possible before it leaves the door. So we don't have a problem with that among, ourselves. But there definitely were studies and there were some discussions. My feeling has been that those kinds of misperceptions have since then died down just because, but it's
Good.
also that problem of we were spaying and neutering basically everything for so many years, and well, it was working great, so let's stop because now there's no problem. So now there's a problem again.
Okay, that's a great point. Thank you.
So maybe we can
Other,
just kind of reintroduce the benefits of fixing younger again within our proposal, if that makes sense. Kind of reiterate that that's just as I think it's more important and it's more beneficial for the animals to get fixed when they're before the breeding age. So if we can somehow incorporate that.
And safer.
Well,
Yeah.
I wrote down.
Females.
I wrote down what Dr. Kaplan was saying, that it could be part of the educational strategy when we're training for the high volume,
Yes.
that we could address the age as well in that same training.
Yes.
Is it true, Dr. Kaplan, that cats that go into their first heat, the uterus is more friable and difficult to work with? Or is that not something I've heard that? I don't know.
Yeah. So animals who are in heat are more challenging to spay, but again, part of the training is to just kind of learning how to safely do that, how to safely perform those surgeries on any animal that comes through your door, and that does take some experience. But after they have had their first litter, especially when they're just recently postpartum, it is much more dangerous because the uterus is much more friable.
Okay. Wow.
There should be a lot of info too on the Fix by 5 movement to use.
Whose voice is that? You sound so familiar.
Sorry, it was so late. I was dealing with my first ever rattlesnake.
Oh my, everyone, this is Audrey Stratton from Feral Cat who just.
Hey, Audrey.
Your name isn't on your phone, Audrey, and I was just like, wait a minute, I know the voice.
What does it say?
It just says iPhone.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the Fix by 5 movement's been going on for a very long time, and there's a lot of really helpful education to provide out there.
Yeah, I see there's a few other new names that joined. I don't know if you were able to see the presentation, but it is recorded. So we're going to send it out to the Rescue Coalition list. So you'll all have access to that. But so far, Adrian, the conversation's great. But I know that initially we need to try to get the city on board, and that's money. Money is what is going to talk to them.
well, I mean, not money for them, but we need resources to fuel this campaign and to fuel our efforts to make those contacts, set up those meetings, organize the presentations, and kind of keep the effort going forward. We are in a recruitment posture right now. So this was an informational presentation today, a discussion presentation. We wanted to kind of educate as many people that work in this space on kind of this growing coalition and what our objective is. And so kind of going forward, what I would ask all of you to reach out to your touch point that invited you to this meeting today. We would like to include you in our future meetings and additional strategy sessions like this, where we can have more conversations about kind of the policy objective, some of the great ideas that all of you shared, the suggestions, the concerns, the things we need to watch out for. We are going to document all of that and put it all in, on paper. so we can kind of track all of this great content. But we are kind of moving forward, and this effort will not succeed if people don't participate and if people are silent. We need people to join us, to bring your voice, to bring your organization. There's strength in numbers, and that's what our goal here is to really have something adopted by the city in a 1 year or less time frame. And as was stated by Wendy and others, now is the time because there is no uh, good way to let a crisis go to waste. And there is a crisis right now, both financially, but there's also an overpopulation crisis. And so this is the opportunity to introduce a real strong solution that saves lives and money, taxpayer dollars. And that's what's going to drive the conversation at the city is how do we save taxpayer dollars and also do the right thing at the same time. Luckily, we have supporters on city council and in the mayor's office who are animal lovers, animal parents. And so we're going to kind of, leverage those natural supportive instincts for our policy goal.
And Adrian, did you want, if anyone here does have any connections with any of the San Diego City Council members, have them email you?
Yeah. Yeah, we want to relate what relationships you have, what people you know. If you have other people that work in the space that we should talk to, please let us know who is missing from this meeting tonight that we want to invite to a follow-up secondary meeting. And at the right point and right time when we go meet with elected officials, if you know any of them personally, I would bring you along to those meetings so we have a few people who they know, so we can kind of leverage those relationships towards our policy objective.
And Adrian, would that only be politicians at the city level, or what about the county level at this point, just for their support?
So our focus is the city. We could meet with individuals in other agencies who support us at the city. But I will tell you, at times when it comes to policy issues like this, elected officials are not willing to step on the toes of other elected officials in other jurisdictions.
Sure, makes sense.
So that's we're almost 8 o'clock. We wanted to have you join us for 1 hour to learn about this, and I think we've had a really robust conversation and discussion of the issue. And I think all of you kind of you all know what the problem is, and you know what the real solution here is. And that's what we're focused on, is to really promote a strong, robust, effective, real solution. And as I stated earlier, we're not here to pick on the city or pick on the Humane Society. This is a diplomatic mission and a diplomatic effort to try to change hearts and minds and get them to support a reasonable policy solution. So with that said, I will thank you all for joining us tonight. As I stated earlier, we will reach out to you either through your touch points or if you can reach out to them, and then we will build a list and have another session like this very soon to kind of do a follow-up meeting.
Thank you, Adrian.
Oh, sorry,
Thank you.
Wait, with the last minute, can you give a estimated overview of what the timeline looks like? I know you sort of said 1.5 years, but like just so they understand like what sort of steps we'll be taking to get to that point.
Sure. So we are still designing and refining the policy proposal, and we will be doing that over the next month. And in the June timeframe, we will be submitting meeting requests to our friends at City Hall for face-to-face meetings, and that we hope will happen in the July or August timeframe. They do go into hibernation mode on vacation towards the end of middle to end of August. So we might not get some meetings until September or so. And the goal is to have some sort of policy progress towards the end of this year, if not the first few months of next year before the next budget cycle. And we will also, on a parallel track, while we're reaching out to the city, we're going to be reaching out to the leadership at the Humane Society and kind of engaging in a dialogue with them on, this policy solution that helps them and helps the city and is a positive policy solution.
And this solution is going to help everyone, rescues, pet owners, the Humane Society, the city, and all the nonprofits. It's a win-win for everyone.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win. Yeah, all the way around.
It is. And it's and I think you all know this. It's the right thing to do. I mean, we all know there's a huge crisis. There's an overpopulation crisis. We are judged by how we treat, you know, uh, animals that can't help themselves. And so we need to step up to the plate and do the right thing. And it's not going to be easy. There's going to be people that are feel threatened or feel that we're trying to undermine them, or there's going to be politicians who don't want to spend the money and don't understand that. And that's where we're going to have to, be steadfast in our, policy objective and stay the course and not lose sight of where we're trying to go. Because I will tell you, it is always in San Diego. San Diego is a city where great ideas go to die. And it's littered with good intentions that have not been accomplished. And having done this for 25 years in this town, I will tell you I've got a 95% success rate. And I know how to navigate the minefields, and I know how to use the correct words to communicate our message.
Fabulous. And this is its own 501c3, which he started. So just so you know, this is a separate campaign. It has a timeline. It's not an ongoing nonprofit. It's a very specific timeline. And once it's established, it's going to have, it's this great little name. And we also ask that all of you share this out to your groups. And I know that because SNAP is as well, where we're reaching out to our donors for support for our organization, but we're hoping that everyone also shares this out to their groups so they understand the bigger picture that you're part of. And so, hopefully that they can support this as well once it's up and running.
Well, and as Darrell said earlier that she would like to work SNAP out of business, I'd like to work this campaign effort out of business. That's the goal, to put myself out of business. That's what I do professionally. Once we're successful, the money stops coming and I move on to something else, and that's okay. And so that's our goal here. That's why we're calling it a campaign, because we have a objective we're trying to reach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. It's 8:03. Thank you all for your time, your great comments, your participation. I really appreciated it. And we will touch base with everyone soon.
Thank you so much.
And I'm gonna put my email in the chat quickly in case you want to email me directly.